I wanted to take a little bit of time and just talk to you about keyboard shortcuts. I know throughout this course so far, I've been giving you a lot of information about keyboard shortcuts. And until you really start to get into Premiere and using them, you probably are going to have a hard time memorizing them all, just because there are so many. More than likely, you're going to memorize the ones that you use the most often, but you might want to learn more or just have a reference as to what keyboard shortcuts are available. So when you're in Premiere, if you go to the Premiere Pro menu, and this is going to be under the Edit menu on the PC, you'll have access to keyboard shortcuts. If you click this, it's going to open up all of the keyboard shortcuts that are available in Premiere. Now, as you can see, there are a lot that are listed here, and actually, there are even more than are displayed right here. But let me just take a couple of minutes and introduce you to how you can use and modify the keyboard shortcuts. The first thing you'll notice is that they're different colors. We have gray, purple, and green. The purple represent the keyboard shortcuts for the application itself. So if we wanted to use the slip tool, you can see that we use the Y key, which we've already talked about. This will work regardless of what window is active within Premiere. If you notice that some of these keyboard shortcuts have two colors, and that's because this particular key is doing double duty. For instance, if we look at the O key, this is the keyboard shortcut for us to create an out point. This is at the application level, but you can see that there's also a green command right here. This is something that's available from going to Panels, Legacy, Titler Panel, and this will give you access to the rotation tool. We have not yet covered anything like that, but it is worth mentioning that that's why some of the keys have a slash and have purple and green. In addition, some of the keys will display as gray. These are keys that do not have any shortcuts mapped to them yet. You can also change the commands from application to any of these other things. So if I went ahead and went to the Program Monitor panel, this is going to show me any keys that are associated with the Program Monitor. As you can see, we don't have any that are associated with that. But let's go to our Timeline panel. And you can see that the Delete key will clear a selection, and then we have Page Up and Page Down, which are the up and down arrow keys that will take us to the next and previous edits. I'm going to switch back to Application. In addition, you can hover over any of the keys and it will give you a tooltip that tells you what that particular key is doing. In addition, you can also click on the key, and if you click on the key, it's going to show you any modifiers that also work in conjunction with this particular key. So what does that mean exactly? Well, if I click the Shift key, for instance, this is going to display all of the keys that will work with the Shift plus a particular key. So if I use Shift I, for instance, it's going to take me to the next endpoint. If we click on this key, it will display all of the commands that are associated with that particular key. For instance, I, of course, is just going to mark an endpoint. But if we add Command I, that's going to be a shortcut to create italic or import text. So this one is contextual. It depends on which panel is active. If we use Option or Alt I, it's going to clear an endpoint. If we use Shift plus I, it will go to an endpoint. This one down here is Option plus Command or Control plus I, and that's going to import media from the browser. Over here on the left, it's going to list all of the tools and it will show which keyboard shortcut is associated with that particular tool. So if we scroll down a little bit, you'll see that there are some tools that do not have keyboard shortcuts associated to them. If we go into Edit, for instance, you can see how Select All Matching doesn't have a keyboard shortcut. If this is a command that I feel like I'm using frequently, I may want to assign a keyboard shortcut to it. To assign a keyboard shortcut, To assign a keyboard shortcut, you're going to need to know the name of the command. So let's just assign one to select all matching. And then what you're going to do is you're going to have to determine what key you might want to use. So since this has to do with matching, I might want to use the M key. Now, as you can see, the M key is already being used for another command. If I don't want to override that, I can choose to pair it with some other combination. So if I wanted to pair it with the caret tool, so this would be caret plus M, I could go ahead and select this. I'll need to write select all matching. And now that this is selected here, we can go ahead and add this particular key. So I'm going to go ahead and select the modifier of the caret. Rephrase. We'll go ahead and click OK. And now if we go back, rephrase. And now if we go back to our keyboard and we click M, just get rid of that part. Now let's say that you want to create your own keyboard shortcut. That is certainly a possibility because everything is pretty much customizable in the application. So in order to create our own custom shortcut, we're going to find the particular command that we want. You'll click under the shortcut column, which will become active, and then you're going to press the keys that you want to use. So we've already checked and we know that nothing is mapped to Option or Alt R. So in this particular dialog box, I'll click Option or Alt R, and now that keyboard shortcut is mapped to this particular command. And if we click on our R key, you can see that now we have something that's been mapped to Option R. It's very easy to customize any of these keyboard shortcuts, so if you find that none of them are working for you, or there's a particular command that you would like to access with a keyboard shortcut, and there is not a keyboard shortcut assigned to it, this is a great place that you can come. It is worth mentioning that as soon as you make your own keyboard shortcut, the keyboard layout preset is going to change from the Adobe Premiere Pro default to custom, and you will need to save this so that those changes are going to be saved under your custom preset. So I could just call this Emily and click OK, and now I have my own special keyboard shortcut assigned under the preset of Emily. If I go back to the Adobe Premiere Pro, you can see that Rewind no longer has that shortcut. In addition, if you're just not sure a keyboard shortcut exists for a particular command, you can go ahead and you can type in whatever it is that you're looking for. So if I want to see if there is a way to delete a track, I can type delete track, and you can see that this is an action, but there is no keyboard shortcut. If we get rid of track and we just type delete, there are all sorts of ways in which we could delete specific things, and it lets you know what that particular action is and what shortcut is assigned to it. I hope you find this helpful to be able to learn a little bit more about keyboard shortcuts and just to have a reference as to what the keyboard shortcuts are in case you forget or you're just not sure if a keyboard shortcut exists for any particular element. I really like that you can add the modifier keys so that you can see if any particular shortcut exists if you hold down, for instance, your Option or Alt key, or if you add Command or Control plus Option or Alt plus a specific key. Using the keyboard shortcuts will definitely make you quicker and more efficient as you go through and edit your projects.